Hey guys, it's Hannah and this is Bookworms Talk, and today I'm going to tell you what books are on my March TBR. Lately, I've been really wanting to reread books that I already love, like for comfort. I want to give All Roads Lead Here another shot. I liked it okay the first time I read it, but now that I know what to expect, maybe I'll like it more. I'm not sure. So, All Roads Lead Here is about a woman who has moved back to a town that the last time she was in, tragedy kind of struck. And it's almost like a starting over point in that way that feels like this, I don't know, like ground zero place. It's an enemies to lovers slow burn, though I don't really think the slow burn worked so much in this, in my opinion. It was more about the self-discovery that she goes on. There's a lot of mystery to it, so I'm being really, really vague with the summary here. The next book is one that actually is an early release. I got an ARC for it, so I'm really lucky. It's one that I had mentioned in a previous video, and it is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is the one that I have a feeling I'm probably going to be finished with first. This is my top priority. I started it. They say you can never go home again. And for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. Instead of glittering summers by the lakeshore of her childhood, she spends them in a stylish apartment in the city, going out with friends and keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart, until she receives a call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into the orbit of Sam Forlick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons on water and warm summer nights working in his family's restaurant and curling up together with books, medical textbooks for him and work-in-progress horror short stories for her, Percy and Sam had been inseparable. Eventually that friendship turned into something breathtakingly more, before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it had always been. But until Percy can confront the decisions she made and the years she spent punishing herself for them, she'll never know whether their love might be bigger than the biggest mistakes of their past. That's the one I'm most excited about. The Emotional Craft of Fiction by, what is his name, Donald Mass. I've had this since 2018, said the receipt that was my bookmark, and I just hadn't read it yet, and I'm diving in. Until recent events, every morning was just going through, highlighting, reading, and studying. And if you're a writer or an aspiring writer, you have got to get this. I actually find it to be extremely helpful. I'm going to include this in a series on writing that I have in my head, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just know, I do recommend. I'll steal one from here. I really want to reread April and Oliver. Like I mentioned, I've just been wanting to reread things that I find that comforting. When I know the plot, I know what's going to happen. Though this book is sad. I find sad things comforting, though. So I also feel like every time I read Tess Callahan's writing, it makes me want to be a better writer. And I find those books especially helpful when I am deep in the writing process. It just I don't know, sparks creativity for me. Just pulling my books from here. Next is The Roughest Draft, and there's actually 2 authors. I missed it the first time. It's Emily Weberly and Austin Siegman Broca. This reminds me, in summary, of Beach Read. Execution-wise, has yet to be seen. I haven't started it yet. It is about 2 writers who used to co-write with each other, and something happened, and they haven't spoken since, and they never plan to, except the final book that they have in the contract is due, and so they're forced to work together to finish it up. But I am excited to read this. I don't want it to turn into one of those, I think I'm going to like it so much so I could just keep putting off reading it, delayed gratification, because I could feel myself doing that with that one. I'm going to try not to. Next one is Paulina Simon's The Tiger Catcher, which she sent to me. Thank you so much. The whole series. I'm very excited about it. And the summary for this is, Julian has lived a charmed life in Los Angeles. His world is turned upside down by a love affair with Josephine, a mysterious young woman who takes him by storm. But she is not what she seems, carrying secrets that tear them apart, perhaps forever. So begins Julian and Josephine's extraordinary adventure of love, loss, and mystical forces that bind people together across time and space. It is a journey that propels Julian toward either love fulfilled or oblivion. I have a couple more Mariana Zapata ones that I kind of briefly mentioned. One is a reread, and it is Wait For It, which is one of my favorites of hers. I've gone back and reread Colty and From Luke Off With Love to try to figure out which one's my favorite. I think it's From Luke Off With Love, just barely, but Wait For It is one of my other big favorites too. So I want to reread that. That one is about, she's not really a single mother. She ends up raising her 2 nephews though. And that was something I never thought, I never had interest in. I never thought I would enjoy a book like that. So it had to work extra hard to get me to like it. And it really did. It just blew away my expectations. And so it's just about raising those boys and their neighbor who ends up being the boys' or one of the boys' baseball coaches, and their friendship. And is just a great book. It's so good. And the other one from Mariana Zapata is Luna and the Lie. The summary is, the problem with keeping secrets is that they're too easy to keep collecting. Luna Allen has done some things she would rather no one ever know about. She also knows that if she could go back in time, she wouldn't change a single thing. With 3 sisters she loves and a job she mostly adores, and a family built up of friends she's made over the years, Luna figures everything has worked out the way it's supposed to. But when one of those secrets involves a man who signs her paycheck, she can't find it in her to regret it, despite the fact that he's not the friendliest man in the world or the most patient. Sometimes there are things you're better off keeping to yourself. Vague, just the way I like it. And my last pick is Falling from Horses by Molly Gloss. It's random for me to want to read this, but it was in that book, The Emotional Craft of Fiction, given an excerpt from it as an example, and the writing, oh my god, it was so subtle. I feel like I can learn so much from that. So it's about, well, I think he's a boy, I can't remember how old he is, a boy who was raised on a ranch or a farm of some kind, and this is based in the 1938, I think, and he travels by bus to Hollywood because he wants to be like a stunt man in the Western movies. And on the bus, he meets a girl who is also going to Hollywood because she wants to be a screenwriter. It's literally just like their interactions as far as like emotionality of characters, and it's really subtle. I don't even know how to describe it. I've reread this like one particular interaction probably like, I don't know, between 5 and 10 times. And it's so subtle, but it has like this undercurrent to everything. And then they continue exchanging letters over the years, and they like become great friends that way. And yeah, the writing is just worth studying, if that makes sense. So that about wraps it up. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe, and I will see you next Saturday.